Am I the a-hole for refusing to go into Hooters for my brother's 18th birthday and sitting in the car? I'm 14F and just last week, my older brother turned 18. He is at college a few hours away, so my mom, dad, and I got in the car to meet him and give him presents, and yeah. I crocheted him a Pikachu. Nobody talked about what we were eating for dinner ahead of time, or I just wouldn't have gone. But when we got there, my dad kept asking if my brother wanted to go to Hooters. I'm gonna be honest and say that it made me feel uncomfortable. For those of you who don't know, Hooters is this chain restaurant where the whole point is to gawk at the waitresses, who are all hot girls wearing white shirts and little orange shorts. It made me feel uncomfortable and bad, so I said that they could go inside, and I looked and saw there was a bookstore like a 5-minute walk away, so I'd go there instead. BC, I did not want to go. My dad got pissed off and started screaming at me that if I had a problem I could sit in the car. So I said, okay, I'll just sit here. He snatched my phone and screamed that I wouldn't need my phone to sit there. I said okay. They went in. Then about 20 minutes later, my mom came out to ask me to go inside with them, and I said no, I don't want to go there. After they dropped off my brother, he screamed at me for my actions. I low-key thought my mom would get it, but when we got home, she told me I should have just gone in because it was not that big a deal. I told her that it felt gross to go to a restaurant just meant for gawking at women with my dad and brother. If my dad wanted to perv out like that, he should have just gone with my brother. She said that sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do. Yeah, I get that, but I figured that applied more to stuff like having to do homework or babysit my mom's friends' kids. AITA, I wanted to clear up something. BC, it keeps coming up, but my brother's birthday dinner wasn't ruined. They got to go inside and have a good time. He got his presents and money, and he and dad talked about how big their waitresses T*TS were and how hot it would be to see her and the other girl together on the drive back to his school. So nothing was ruined because I wasn't there. And no, I'm not lying about my dad screaming. He screams when he gets mad. I know the difference between a scream, a yell, and a raised voice or talking sternly. Go ahead and judge me, but don't call me a liar. Am I the a-hole? On to the next story. Am I the a-hole for grounding my daughter for ruining our vacation? My husband, daughter, 15, stepkids, 13, and 16, and I just came back from a 2-week vacation. My daughter is very smart and is very good at a lot of things. She's also very competitive. My husband is also very competitive. My daughter started off this vacation by telling my husband there was Sudoku on the plane and explaining how to play. He didn't know that she'd been playing Sudoku for months. She made a bet with him that if she finished the hardest level first, he'd buy her Wi-Fi for the flight, and if he finished first, she'd share a bed with his younger daughter on the trip. His younger daughter was complaining about sharing with his oldest because she kicks and sleeps in the middle of the bed. She beat him and pestered him until he bought the Wi-Fi. When we got there, she'd challenge him to races on land and in the pool. She's won medals at state track meets and has been swimming since she was 2. Every day she'd challenge him to something, win, and he'd have to buy her something from the resort or local shops. My husband was getting sick of losing, and my stepdaughters were upset that their dad was buying her stuff and not them, so I told my daughter she either couldn't compete with her stepdad or she had to let him win. She decided to tell her stepdad that she wasn't allowed to compete with him anymore because he couldn't handle losing. This made them start to argue, so I told her that if she didn't keep it up, she'd be grounded to the resort for the rest of the trip, a little over a week at this point. She decided to test me, so I stuck to my word, and she was left at the resort while the rest of us went out every day. The vacation was much more enjoyable without her turning everything into a competition, but she told her dad when she got back that we grounded her, and he's mad at me now for leaving her there and excluding her from the vacation because my husband couldn't act like an adult. I told him my daughter was warned to stop, but she decided to test me, and now he's forcing her to stick to the custody schedule. Technically I have her every other weekend, but he was letting her go back and forth whenever she wanted, and is threatening to go to court for child support and back pay. Am I the a-hole? On to the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister take my kids anymore? My sister, 21, has 2 children aged 3 and 3.5 months, and suffers from PPD/PPA. I, 30F, have a 13-year-old son and a 11-year-old daughter. School vacation just went by, and my sister had asked if both of my children could go visit her for the week. I asked the kids, and they said they wanted to, so I said yes. Every single time my daughter FaceTimed me, she had my sister's 3 years old. I didn't think too much of it at the time because my daughter loved this little girl very much. But by day 5, both my kids were asking me to come get them. I show up and my sister starts begging me not to take the kids until Sunday, our original agreement, because having them here makes my anxiety go away. I simply told her the kids wanted to come home and left. Around dinner time my daughter commented how she had the 3 years old the entire time she was there. To a point where I guess my sister even asked to have the 3 years old sleep with my daughter so she could get up with her in the morning so she could sleep in. My daughter stated that the only time my sister came downstairs was to shower or make food for herself. The rest of the time, my kids were left to fend for themselves and take care of the 3 years old, including meals. My sister's BF lives there full-time and doesn't work either, so he never leaves. Therefore there were TWO adults in the house and neither of them watched their kid the entire time my kids were there. I guess there were also multiple times that my sister asked my daughter to clean the house. I didn't confront my sister originally because I didn't feel there was any point in it, but she just called my daughter about an hour ago and my daughter says to me, while still on the phone, "Auntie wants to know if I can go back over there on Friday." I said absolutely not and went back to doing dishes. Then my daughter hands me the phone. It's my sister asking why my daughter can't go there Friday. So I say because my daughter is not your maid or nanny. You made her wake up with your kid, take care of her all day, clean your house, and then put her to sleep at night. My daughter is 11. She will not be parentified. My sister immediately started crying and said it wasn't like that, she was just helping me. So I told her that both my kids wouldn't lie and tell me the same story if it didn't happen and that PPD is not an excuse to pawn 100% of responsibilities off on a child, especially when her BF was there full time. Now she's saying it didn't happen like that, that my kids were just helping her and that she enjoyed having them there because the noise helped her not to panic. I told her it still wasn't happening and she called me heartless and said this is the reason women with PPD don't ask for help. Am I the a-hole?